Good morning. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, those that are joined on this call. We are sitting at 81 people that have joined so far. Today, we are also joined by the Executive Secretary of the UN Economic Commission for Africa, the ES Secretary. He's joining us, which is really a big honor for us that is joining us on this session. So perhaps before we go into the details, let me just ensure that we sort of understand the logistics, given that we have people beyond the ECA, we have people coming beyond Africa who are joining us on this particular session. So please, I would like to, first of all, ensure that you have all the connections that is required, you're able to hear. And if you are not able, please, if you could just write in the chat if there's a problem that you're having at the moment. I would like to ask that, given that today we have 3 presentations that we are going to be making, we may not have much time for discussion, which is unusual, but we want to allow as much discussion. So please put your questions in the chat, put your comments in the chat as well. And when it's time to raise your hand, for questions, please do raise your hand. I also want to mention that this particular session is being recorded, just in case there will be others that may want to follow through the discussion that we are going to have today. So without further ado, let me first of all, welcome the Executive Secretary who has joined us on this particular session, and colleagues that are part of this. Really very delighted this morning that we have for the first time the Executive Secretary joining us. Those who don't know me, my name's Oliver Chinganya. I am the Director of Africa Center for Statistics at ECA. So today I'm really pleased to moderate this session and to welcome you all at this 13th StatsTalk-Africa webinar series. Our journey, as you know, most of you that have been part of it, started in April 2023. Yet the strides have been made and nothing short of remarkable. For the past year, we have categorized a series of webinars aimed at demystifying statistical concepts and methods to promote better understanding of statistical concepts and alternative data sources, including administrative data, big data, artificial intelligence, geospatial information, along with the innovation solutions implemented in the region and across the globe. The webinars are positioned as a knowledge-sharing platform, promoting dialogue among data experts and users. To this end, we have speakers today that are going to talk about big data and official statistics, issues on emerging abilities of large language models and their potential application, geospatial big data, geospatial data science, and artificial intelligence, the state of play of SDGs, that is what is the real story, machine learning of research, economic research, geospatial information, official statistics, use of big data for nowcasting of central banks, leveraging on GIS and artificial intelligence in solving global challenges and revolutionizing census workflows, understanding the contribution of South-South cooperation, modernizing data administrative for statistical purposes. More recently, on the 20th of February, we had a session that was demystifying the building of inclusive national identity systems for interlinking digital identity and legal identity. So just to give an idea of some of the sessions that we've had in the past. So StatsTalk-Africa ES will continue to read and pack complex statistical concept and terms for better information utilization, where sessions will continue to have experts within ECA, member states, among development partners, the academia, data and statistics practitioners from the region and across the globe to discuss different areas associated or with data and statistical elements. The potential of data science, yes, as you know, for betterment of our society will continue to be harnessed through this platform. For us here at ECA, the Africa Center for Statistics, we are committed to continue providing leadership in ensuring that the countries are empowered in terms of transitioning from the manual automated classification using sophisticated data science algorithms. This leap will not only enhance the speed, but also the quality of surveys and census, paving the way to a more informed decision making. So today, yes, we would want to talk about the understanding the role of the UN Regional Hub and big data and data science for Africa in advancing the work of official statistics. But perhaps before then, yes, maybe I would ask them, maybe you may have 1 or 2 words that you would like to say before we go into the major details of the other speakers that are going to be speaking this morning. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Director. And I thank you very much for organizing this event. I'm here just as an observer. I'm not here as a participant. I'm not here chairing. I just want to listen to the experts. For the audience, I'm told there are big things that you always discuss here. The big data, the data science, so many artificial intelligence. During my time when I worked in statistics in Canada, we never used to have the machine learning and all these things which are developing. The technology was not so advanced to this level. What I want to tell you is that now data is everything. It doesn't matter what your area is. It doesn't matter what you are working on. Data is almost everything that anyone would need. And it's going to become even more important. It's going to be really another big business. And we want to make sure that on the African continent, we are not left behind. There are new issues that are coming in that we are all discussing, including the non-traditional areas of climate, the technology, and where we need really to have the data that is going to inform the decisions on the African continent. And that's why, for me, I give quite a great value on the work that you are doing together to always find out the new methods of how you can collect the information. It doesn't matter which kind of information, and then store it, and then at the same time, make it available to the policymakers on the continent. So this is one of the good examples that really you can be able to share among not only within the UN system, but also with African countries and learn from each other. And meaning that some of the work that you are doing here, in as much as we are also looking at the best cases that are here in the case of Ghana and Rwanda, for example, but also needed to share it with other member countries of the African Union, which is very, very important. So I really applaud this work, and as I said, I'm here to listen, but I wanted just to emphasize the importance of this work, which we think is going to become very critical. And we, as the Africa Center for Statistics, we should be able to lead in this area because we can coordinate and be able to share the same information. It's for the benefit of all the policymakers. We are trying now, as we work together with all the finance ministers and governors of the central banks across the continent, but also want to make sure that we work with the private sector in different other forums. And we want to make sure that the data becomes really very, very key. So I want to emphasize that as ECA, this is going to become one of the top priorities for us. So I'm glad that you have really organized this. I can promise you'll be seeing me quite often in this area of statistics. And I'll be pushing as much as I can, but this is an area that we as Africans need to really have a grasp of and make sure that we have the standards, we have access to any sources of information of any kind. And I think this is going to become very useful. So I didn't want to say much. I just wanted to thank you so much. We are here to listen to your discussion, and we'll be able to accompany you and support you in any way possible. So thank you so much, and greetings to everybody. I saw Yusuf here, the one who is heading the Rwanda National Institute of Statistics in Rwanda. I see other people from Ghana who are on the program. I just say greetings to all. Thank you so much. Okay, over to you.
Thank you so much, yes, and for the encouraging and the commitment you are making to support statistics beyond just what we do at ECA, but across the continent. And this is why we've been organizing these sessions. As I said, this is the 13th session that we are organizing, really to demystify some of the concept around statistics. So we really appreciate your encouragement. So to continue with the program, ES and colleagues that have joined, first of all, let me just say a little bit what is the UN Big Data Regional Hub for Africa and why the UN Big Data Regional Hub really matters for the continent. So the UN Big Data Regional Hub for Africa serves as a pivotal institution addressing the unique big data and data science needs for the African continent. It is tailored to the specific requirements and challenges of the region, reorganizing the diverse landscape of data utilization across various sectors. One of its primary functions is to identify and target regional specific big data needs, ensuring that data-driven solutions are tailored to a local context. Moreover, the hub plays a crucial role in the capacity building efforts, offering training programs, workshop webinars, and newscasters to enhance data science skills and knowledge dissemination across the region. So through the collaboration that we've had and knowledge exchange initiative, it fosters partnerships among stakeholders, facilitating the sharing of challenges and best practices across borders. And furthermore, the hub also serves as a valuable source for national statistics offices, providing advisory consultancy and support services to enhance data collection, analysis, and dissemination capabilities. So in essence, really the UN Big Data Regional Hub for Africa matters quite a lot, because it is not only addresses the continental data challenges, but also empowers the stakeholders with the tools and the expertise that is required to harness the transformative potential of big data and sustainable development. So really, on behalf of the Executive Secretary and of course the colleagues in ECA, we are really delighted to have everyone here. Maybe just for the information of the Executive Secretary, I must mention that the UN Regional Hub, it's a joint effort that we are doing ourselves at ECA, together with the Rwanda National Statistics Office and UNDESA. So there is a memorandum of understanding that we signed in 2020, which involves the three agencies. Part of that is that Rwanda does run what is called a data science campus. And again, SCS collaborate very closely with the National Statistics Office of Rwanda to promote the work around data science potentials. And this is the reason why we are, for the first time, bringing this issue that we've been discussing and doing within the UN regional hub. So I would like at this stage, really with a lot of privilege, to also recognize my colleague, Director General of the National Statistics Office of Rwanda, Yusuf Muragwa, who will give us also some open remarks. He's a professional statistician. For those who don't know, he's a professional statistician and operational researcher for more than 15 years of experience in statistical development. He has worked on a wider scope of statistics, including in labor, education, economic, prices, agriculture, population and census, and poverty statistics, just to mention a few. He's been director of the National Statistics Office there since 2009, and focusing more on building capacity for the national statistical system in Rwanda and advocating for the use of evidence-based decision making. And the colleagues, you can actually see the work that Rwanda has been able to influence even policy at that level. But in addition to that, really has played a bigger role in applying new technology. The last census in Rwanda used smartphones to collect the data. I think it was the first country on the continent that used mobile phones to collect the data, after we had made an investigation with their own company, in Marathon, which is based in Rwanda. So we're really grateful for that effort. So without further ado, let me hand over to you, Director Yusuf, to also give just short remarks before we get into the presentations. Yusuf, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Oliver. Yeah, thank you very much, Oliver. The Executive Secretary, United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, Mr. Clever Gatete, the Director, Africa Center for Statistics, Oliver, my brother. We are very honored to be together with the Executive Secretary today. And it's always a pleasure to be part of StatsTalk-Africa. I also want to recognize our fellow Director Generals in Africa, statisticians in Africa who have joined us, and all other partners globally. It's an honor to host the UN Regional Hub for Big Data in Africa here in Kigali. It's very important that we take forward the work of the Regional Hub in Africa. And from the perspective of Rwanda, we have a number of issues that inform us regarding our expectations and our contributions to the Regional Hub. The first issue is that Africa, as the United Nations Executive Secretary the UNECA Executive Secretary just said, Africa should not be left behind in terms of data. Data is a very important resource that we should make sure that as Africans we are able to utilize. Two, statistics offices in Africa have to modernize. And for statistics offices in Africa to modernize, it's very important that we use big data to modernize as an ingredient to what we need to do going forward. The third issue that informs our expectations of the hub is that African countries have capacity constraints in engaging in terms of new areas of statistics, in also proving concepts that are useful in Africa. For example, we know that in Africa, things that are very important, for example, in terms of, agriculture and food security, we need to modernize the approaches that we use for statistics in measuring agriculture. And for us to be able to do that, we need to use big data, especially geospatial technologies. And so far, we've not been able to break through in terms of the concepts that work for Africa. Also, we know that climate change is very important for Africa. We're already experiencing a lot of climate change effects that we need to be able to measure, and especially environment statistics. And given the complexity and the urgency in this area, it's only big data that will allow us to move very fast to be able to be part of the global community in terms of engaging. And for us to be able to address all these issues, the concepts and practices in big data are very important for us to succeed. We also need to, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So
Yes, we can hear you.
Another important issue is that we need to collaborate as African countries in this area of big data so that our voice and our contribution is effective at the global level. So that also informs our collaboration and partnership and our expectations from the regional hub. And finally, in the interest of time, as African countries, especially Africa statistics offices, we need to move quickly. In the past, we've always been lagging behind on the global arena. We'll always be catching up with other regions in the world. This time, we have an opportunity to not lag behind. We have an opportunity to move with other regions in the whole world, especially because the regional hub in Africa was set at the same time that other regional hubs in other regions were being set. We have 4 regional hubs globally. We have the one in Rwanda that is hosted at the National Statistics Office in Rwanda. We have a regional hub in China. We have a regional hub in Brazil. And we also have a regional hub in the United Arab Emirates. All these regional hubs were set up at the same time so that Africa should not be left behind in terms of big data for official statistics. So with this, I want to emphasize that the collaboration between UNDESA, UNECA, and Rwanda in terms of the regional hub in Africa is very important. And this also will make sure that other countries in Africa, other statistics offices in Africa also bring their competences on board. The expectation is that much as the collaboration is between UNECA, UNDESA, and Rwanda, but also all other countries, all other statistics offices in Africa should have a strong voice and strong input in the way the activities and the programs of the regional hub in Africa operates. And if we are able to put this in place and move forward quickly, we are sure that Africa statistics offices will be able to move in time with other statistics offices in other countries and other regions, and be relevant in supporting policy issues at our respective country levels, but also at the African continent level. In conclusion, I want to assure our partners, especially UNECA and UNDESA, but also other countries in Africa, especially statistics offices in Africa, that we will do as Rwanda whatever we need to do to make sure that this partnership succeeds. And we also count on all your collaboration to make sure that as Africa, we move together strongly forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yusuf, for those enlightening words, and also, really making a commitment in terms of how we can move as a continent and make sure no one is left behind, particularly transforming and modernizing of the national statistical offices. We believe ourselves here, the partnership that we have with your office, we will reach full potential as a prime mover in helping member states advancing the work on data science and artificial intelligence, regionally as well as the globe. So as we go forward, I did mention that we will be focusing a little bit more on the UN Big Data and Data Science Regional Hub, and this will be followed by showcasing some of the additional data science initiatives taking place within the Africa Center for Statistics, so that you can also see what are we doing in the center in terms of the artificial intelligence, the data science potentials, and finally we'll be able to hear from Ghana, who has been part of the regional hub in terms of localizing the SDGs and computing their novel access to information index. So I have the pleasure now to perhaps call Teresa from the Office of Director General Muragwa, who is also Director of the Revolution and Big Data at the International Institute of Statistics in Rwanda. She coordinates the Department on Data Science, in terms of delivering of several projects, supporting the institute to be able to achieve its mandate. She also serves as program management unit for the UN Regional Hub on Big Data and Data Science for Africa. So, Teresa, in the interest of time, please, can you spend some 10 minutes in terms of what we are doing at the Regional Hub in Rwanda?
Thank you, Mr. Oliver. Allow me to share a screen.
Please go ahead. Are you managing to do that, Teresa?
Yeah, let me know if you can see my screen.
Not yet, at least not from my end.
Let me start over again.
We are seeing your boss on the screen.
Why don't you use the big data to bring it up?
There is
Or
one
otherwise, Irene, please, you can help
Sure.
me share the screen. Yes.
Can
Yeah.
we do it from this end, Ellen? Can you
Yes.
upload it from ourselves from ECA?
Yeah. Can you
Exactly.
see the screen
Thank you.
now?
Yes, please. Can you just put it in full mode? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Erin. So as Oliver said, my name is Teresa Imana, and I'm going to take you through the briefly history of the regional hub. And if you move to the next slide, some of the information have already been described by my seniors. A little bit of background, mission, and objectives of the hub. I will also share highlights of the achievements and what are the upcoming events planned, but also tackle on the partnerships, challenges, and opportunities before concluding with the way forward. Next. So maybe in the interest of the background, before the regional hub came, there is what we call UN Global Platform, which is a cloud-based system hosted by the UN Division Statistics Division in New York, So it provides a collaborative environment where all the NSOs can access and use different resources available. The aim of establishing this UN global platform was to fill data gaps to support Sustainable Development Goals 2030 agenda. For some of the participants today, some of them may have already used the platform during what we call annual UN hackathons, especially when they want to use automatic identification data such as real-time ships data. So the UN Global Platform is governed by the UN Committee of Experts on Big Data and Data Science for Official Statistics. And it has different task teams focusing on different areas such as mobile phone data, satellite imagery, scanner data, and so forth. So as my senior said, at the current moment, we have 4 regional hubs, one based in Brazil to serve the Latin America and Caribbeans, one in Rwanda, based in Rwanda here at the Statistics Office, serving the African continent. We also have another regional hub in UAE, which is based at the Federal Competitiveness and Statistics Center in Dubai to serve the Middle East and North Africa region. We also have another one based in Indonesia at the Statistics Office, Jakarta in Indonesia, serving Asia and the Pacific. But also we have 2 UN global hubs, one called Aries for SIA, which is based in Basque Center for Climate Change in Spain. And we have also the Global Center based in China, focusing on satellite imageries, which was recently approved by the 54th Statistical Commission last year. So if you move to the next slide, please. So at the UN Global Platform, there are available resources to mention. Yes, please, next slide. Yes, thank you. So at the UN Global Platform, we have different resources, as I previously mentioned, and we all to mention, like, we have a learning management system where you can find resources to start the path in different areas such as data management, big data, data science. So I encourage you to reach to go through the link provided so that you can see what is available. But we also have different data sources that are available for statistical offices and other partners in Africa to tap into. To mention, like, automatic identification system, ships data, and we also have Sentinel satellite imageries since dating back in 2018. And we are also looking to populate with more big data sources and case studies. So whoever wants to share a successful case study, please feel free to reach out on the email provided on the slides. Next. So when we come to the regional hubs, why no, a little bit back on the previous slide. Forward once more. On the slide talking about regional hubs, why they were set up. Yes, thank you. So the regional hubs were set up to focus on regional specific needs because different regions have different needs and they have different requirements in terms of trainings, in terms of issues and aspects. So that's why regional hubs were set to help the global platform. Next. So as Mr. Oliver mentioned previously, the MOU was signed between the government of Rwanda, Economic Statistics for United Nations Economic for Africa, ECA, and the UNDESA to establish the regional hub for Africa. And the mission of the hub is to help member states in effectively using alternative data sources to apply appropriate data science tools and techniques to modernize, to use in providing credible and insightful statistics. And among the objectives of the hub, there is to facilitate projects between member states, sharing of knowledge and provision of trainings. Next. So our work streams are mainly focused into 4 main streams. There's advocacy, to share what the hub can do, to build capacities of member states, doing in terms of research, but also keep maintaining and populating the global platform. So the structure, the hub has a structure. On the top, there is a steering committee, but advised by a board. We also have at the technical level, there's a program management unit, which facilitates different project teams. So different countries make up different teams depending on a project where they want to collaborate on. So in terms of achievement, there are some quite a number of them, but I will not go through each and every of it. But mainly the hub started operating amidst COVID, where we started recruiting different staff. Here in Kigali, there was a recruitment of a department which I head at the moment to start work operationalizing the hub. So after that, we started different webinars and capacity building initiatives to mobilize the region. Next. Next slide, please. So in 2022, when COVID was a bit like being contained, we started organizing some of the in-person workshops, and to mention, like there was one collaborative project we started working on around CPI, where we wanted to see whether online prices can support in CPI production. So that project went on with around 5 countries, and we were able to host here in Kigali one collaborative project around web scrapping for prices. We also, in the same year, last year, we also hosted different workshops, which some of them happened here, but some of those also were hosted by ECA. So we also last year have been able to conduct a survey. I'm just going quickly into the achievements. I don't want to read all of them. Maybe the slides will be shared later on. But we also happened to conduct a survey to understand the landscape of NSOs in the continent, how far they are in terms of modernizing, and what are the challenges they are facing. And that has been instrumental to plan ahead how the hub can support different countries in their modernization journey. So in terms of upcoming events, we have collaboration with the UN task teams in different sectors. I think most of the participants here receive our regular emails to invite them in different events, and we have already shared the link to our website, so that you can visit the website and see what are the upcoming events and be able to register. To mention a few, we have more webinars around the use of mobile phone data for official statistics, but also we have training and capacity development program. And we have also a webinar on promoting what is available on the global platform this year. So before I conclude, I wanted to highlight some of the current partnerships we have, which you can be able to see on the screen. But these are not the only partners we are working with, because we are also engaging other partners so that we make sure no one is left behind on this journey of modernization. So I cannot conclude without highlighting some of challenges in the region, which were informed by that survey we conducted. Some of it is mainly the data access. Most of the big data sources are privately held, and it's still a challenge with many statistics offices, how they can access to that data. There's also an issue in terms of infrastructure, big data management, and skills gap to work around those types of data. But also, we are still facing a challenge in terms of resources, both human and financial. But then, in our in Rwanda, we have a proverb in Rwanda, like where there are challenges, we also have to find possible solutions. So there are also opportunities that we are tapping into to solve those challenges. To mention, like sharing experience within regional hub and NSOs. We are also working and engaging different partners, but also leveraging on both NISR and UNECA platforms to make sure that we are moving forward. So the way forward, we keep promoting the hub, keen to develop data science community, but also keep engaging and promoting the regional hub, involving statistics office in the continent so that we make sure we are moving together with no one left behind. So with that, I would like to thank you. On the slides, there's a link to the Regional Hub website so that you can contact us and reach out when need be. Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Teresa. Really, thank you so much. Very enlightening presentation there, and very clear that a lot has been done within the regional big data hub. Between the collaboration between ourselves and the institute there. And it's very clear the challenges that we're having here is really about access to data, the infrastructure issues. Most of our national statistical offices are not really ready to embrace big data issues, and that's a challenge. Understanding what the big data, the use of artificial intelligence is still an issue. We are moving, but we are not moving at the pace that we want. So we're hoping that perhaps in the next couple of years, we'll be able to have the necessary infrastructure that is required to be able to harness on the data from data science, from big data, but also from other areas. We realize that data collection using surveys, it's expensive, but also it's time wasting because people want to have data that is almost now. So colleagues, I really ask that you write your questions in the platform provided. Hold on to the questions because I know that you have questions. But let's move quickly to hear about what we are doing at the Africa Center for Statistics around the work of data science. So I'll ask Yusuf to take us through. Yusuf has been with us for quite some time, really, and he works on national accounts mainly, environmental accounting, labor statistics, trade, tourism statistics, and he leads the work really on beyond GDP agenda, providing the statistical support on economic studies. But also, one of our interests right now is the use of artificial intelligence statistical applications. Still very in infancy, but I think we're making strides to be able to tap into, for instance, adapting large language models and other data science enabling tools for economic, social, and statistical applications, including modeling and forecasting of information. But this is really work that is in progress, and but we are making progress, but not at the pace that we want. So, Yusuf, 10 minutes before we go to one of the interesting presentations from Ghana. Yusuf, please.
Thank you, Director. I have shared my screen. I don't know if you are seeing it. Can you see my screen?
We can see it. We can see it.
Thank you. Okay, so just to go quickly through the plan, as the ES has already mentioned the importance of providing data, I'm going to start by explaining how we are using, or at least how we are planning to use artificial intelligence and big data to serve the data needs of the ECI divisions, which is our top priority. Then I will go to the second one, which is how we are using data science and big data to promote statistical development at the level of the African continent. And in the third slide, I will deal with the using AI to support ECI divisions work on socioeconomic policies. And finally, I will conclude with the role of official statistics in a world of AI in its importance. So starting with the way you are using artificial intelligence to serve the data needs of ECA divisions better, you know that the recent year, particularly since last year, it's an explosion of the development of artificial intelligence and their application. There are models that are appearing every day, and there are new applications that are coming all the time. So one possible way we can improve our statistical data dissemination for both internal and external users is incorporating artificial intelligence in the way we are going to search our data online in databases or even in desktop. This is a technology that big companies have been announcing even on desktop. But for now, we are not there yet, but we can use artificial intelligence to power the way we are going to search the data online. We are already working with some partners who are going to do it. I think Mola has a very interesting project. Mola is our colleague. And also we have some tools that you are developing inside. So here, the importance of being able, for example, to go on a website and instead of navigating, give me this data and getting directly the data is that we can have search, which is based on the meaning of the query. We can also put our suggestion, because if someone is asking for data on specific SDG indicators, we can also plug it with our own knowledge. Please be aware that the definition of this indicator is this. Please be aware that the use of this data, maybe these are international data and maybe countries are more interested in seeing national data, or we can put some warnings about the methodologies, because sometimes, you know, these international organizations are harmonizing the data, and during the harmonization process, you can see difference between the international and the national series. We can put warning and recommendation, because we are statisticians. We are also the data steward and those who are in charge of the data quality assurance. We will always say these are the recommendations when you are using the data. So this is one way we can use artificial intelligence to power our central database. But we know that a database, it's only presenting data on a specific way, but there are so many ways you can creatively combine data sources that a database only will never be enough. So it's also good for us to have what we will call a repository of scripts that we are going to use when we really want to develop some very specific tables of graphs that require connecting to 5, maybe 6 different databases, transforming the data and building nice visualizations that you are going to use on the ECA Economic Report for Africa, other publication, or even presentation. For this, there is an opportunity also for us to work with the ACS division to produce these scripts that are using R, Stata, Python, and then we are going to store them in a knowledge repository where they are reusable. So we don't have to go to do the same thing every year. The knowledge is there, it is stored there. And we have mentioned a lot of the value added of ACA in terms of data, and this is where we are going to create the value added, because we are not data producers. But when we take data from different sources, we find a way of combining them to create some indicators. Then we can say the aggregation, the source is ECA, but we have built it from other sources. And even when an institution is publishing data, for example, using Northern Africa, Southern Africa, but we want to have only Africa, we can develop a script that can go take the data from that institution and aggregate them according to our classifications that we want. And then when we publish it, we are the one who have produced it. So it is source ECA, but we have used these sources. So this is how we are going to create value added and see more source ECA on our publications. We are also thinking about creating an institutional memory of the tables and graph, because you know there is a lot of knowledge that is involved when you are combining data to produce a graph, a table. If we can have a repository, we have mentioned it during the discussion with RGD, then we will use an IE powered search, always IE powered, so that we can easily search. I'm looking for a visualization that can give the following message. Maybe it will tell you, okay, 2 years ago, we have published this visualization. This is a message that you can reuse it in a creative way to create a new visualization, a new table. So this is also the power of the artificial intelligence that we can use to serve the internal needs of our division. And once you have created this value internally, then we can put it on the central database and show it to the public as value added that you have created. Then there is something very interesting that the artificial intelligence is giving us that possibility, is a new way of interacting with knowledge. Because instead of asking a document or going on a website and trying to navigate to find where are the CPA prices, where is the last release of survey, you can just interact with using natural language, because they are very powerful natural language models that we can use. This is just a demonstration of an application that we have started developing. We will say more about it in another start talk, but here we will demonstrate how you can very easily scrap, or let's say index a website and then start asking questions directly on the data, on the metadata, without having to go through a painful process of navigation. And many people believe this is a future of data sets, of metadata set. So if you want to be also at the cutting edge of the innovation, I think it's good that we try to find a way to make this application a really big application that will go into production. So here what we are asking is simply based on the latest data, how is inflation in Uganda and what are the policy implications? And you see that the artificial intelligence is capable of going on the website, retrieving the publication, retrieving the data, and synthesizing all the information to bring a response. That is the, how to say, a well-crafted response. And if I find it interesting, I will say, okay, this is interesting, but I would like to know where you have found the data. Where is this latest release of data on the website? Can you give me the link? So instead of navigating and going to find it, I'm just going to ask the question, and it is going to tell me, okay, this is where I found the link. So here, AI is really a powerful assistant, and we are going to use it to make easier the way we are going to interact with the knowledge, with the data that are in national statistics and even international. And you can imagine that if you convince African countries to adopt this kind of technology, how easier it is going to be for us to query data without it being painful. Or even when we are going to do a study, we are doing scoping, we can query this knowledge very easily and find what is available very quickly. So here, for example, I'm asking, are there censuses? And which are the, if there are censuses, can you give me the link to the report on the census? And you will see that the artificial intelligence is capable of digesting this information and bringing me immediately the response. So it's really something very powerful. It's something very powerful. We have started using it in the African Center for Statistics internally, and we would like to have the resources to make this kind of applications that are evolutionary, make it available for us and available also for the other users, because this is going to change the way we use AI for interacting with data. So here you see it can directly tell me these are the different censuses and surveys, and these are the links. And you will notice that CPA also is a survey, even though many people don't know it. CPA also is based on the CPA survey. So this is for how we are using AI to serve the data needs of SAA decisions better. Now I'm going to the second component, where we are doing project to use artificial intelligence, big data to promote statistical development. So one of the first tools that we have developed also is still based on these language models that we can query knowledge. So when we have a statistical publication, for example, we have developed what we call the roadmap for the transformation and modernization of official statistics. If you want to disseminate it, there are some people who don't want to read the whole document. They just want an answer to one question about the document. We can also use AI to transform this publication into a chatbot. You can talk with it like you are talking to a person or to an assistant. I'm just going to ask a question. Why was the roadmap necessary? It is going to read the document and answer to me, give me the response. This is the reason the roadmap was necessary. So this is another way of interacting with knowledge that we can use to make easier the access for our statistical publications, statistical classifications, statistical recommendation, of all these things. You see the power if we use it to make it accessible to people working in statistics in the National Statistics Office, or even for economists who want to find quickly definition recommendation. This is a very powerful. So we have tested it and it is working also very well. We are also working on how we can use artificial intelligence as some kind of tutor, what we call a tutor. Instead of having a person as your tutor when you are trying to learn the system of economic environmental accounting, you are going to use an artificial intelligence tool that you have developed. So here I will go very quickly because you don't have time, but you are asking how are the assets measured in the system of economic environmental accounting, and the artificial intelligence will go in the course material, query the knowledge and give me an answer. You see, it gives me an answer. And then once you have got this answer, another thing that you can do is build what we call a knowledge graph. A knowledge graph is a list of concepts that are linked to the questions that you have asked, because you may want to explore further. So maybe these concepts like productivity and so on, you can find them in an interactive knowledge graph. You can play with the knowledge graph. You can even see the relation between one node and the other. And finally, you can also link your question to questions that has already been answered by the expert of ECA. If you don't want an answer from chatbot, you want an answer that was given by a human expert from ECA, we will link the two, and then we'll give you the answer that is closer to your question. So this is the way that we are trying to use artificial intelligence to facilitate remote training or self-training on everything that has to do with statistical methodology. But obviously, you can use it also for any other online course. So this is another tool that we are using. Then we are working also on the data privacy issues, because for statistical offices, data privacy is very important, and they are very reluctant to use these online tools like ChatGPT, because they don't want to send some sensitive information on the cloud by law. So we are developing what we call a privacy personal information identification identifier. So when you ask a request, it will go through the filter where it will identify what are the personally identifiable information in your query. Then it is going to give you a warning. There are personal information in your query. Do you want to mask them? So this is also a tool that we have been working on, and it's going to secure the way organizations are going to use cloud-based artificial intelligence, because it will go through a filter that will remove everything that is sensitive, because the information goes to the cloud. It's in high demand, and we are working on it. Then another way also to make sure that the way national statistic offices are using AI securely is to use local artificial intelligence. So instead of the big artificial intelligence that is in the cloud that knows everything, we will try to do what we call knowledge distillation, where we will take the domain knowledge from the big model and we will put it in a small model. This model will be able to run on my computer or on my device, but it is a model that is focused on only one domain, for example, national accounts or tourism satellite account. Then I can use it on my own device, and when I'm going to query it, I know that my information is not going on the cloud. It is staying on my computer, so I am in line with the statistical regulations. This is another tool. And then we are other initiatives like making course and open source data available. We are working on producing synthetic data. Synthetic data are artificial data that have the same distribution as the normal data, but you can use them to train your artificial intelligence. For example, for mobile data, a country don't want to share, or companies don't want to share their mobile data because it is sensitive. But if we produce synthetic data, we can train people with the synthetic data, and then they will go in the companies and they can work with the real data. We have also a project of creating African Data Scientist Network. It is in high demand because it's help identifying talents, it's help knowledge sharing, and so on. So this is for the second part. Then for the third part, there are things that we are doing also where it is not the statistic development, but we are supporting socioeconomic policies. For example, the Beyond GDP indicator, we have developed some methodologies that are using satellite image to have poverty indicators of health indicators that are proxy. These are not the real indicator, but these are proxies, because you can see based on the infrastructure an idea of the poverty. Then we are going to use them to improve models, or we will call them Beyond GDP indicators, because these are indicators that help us know the socioeconomic situation beyond the GDP. We are also using news sources for forecasting and nowcasting. We have our colleague here, which is Anjana, who is doing digitalization. We have been training countries on using what we call Google Trends to do nowcasting of GDP. We have started already training some countries, and we are continuing to train them. But there are many other opportunities to use these new data sources to to do nowcasting of various economic indicators, and we think this is high potential. We are also going to use AI tool to validate data using publication. Before publication, this is also an application of large language model, which is very interesting to me. We can say this is more almost a dream, but many people in AI are talking about people who want to take the personality of the person, then they will put it in an artificial intelligence. And even if the person is dead, you are talking with the artificial intelligence as if you are talking with the person. But for organization, in a more practical way, we can use it to put the knowledge of the organization, and not only the knowledge, but even the worldview, the visions, the unique perspective into a model. And then you can use this model in many different ways. For example, when there is a publication that is going out, we want to make sure that the gender analysis in the publication is good. We can send it to the model and let the model tell us, do you see enough gender analysis in this publication? Or do you see the data that are in this publication? Do you think there are most recent data? Or do you think that there is a vision or something in this publication that's in line with our vision or our ethical position? Or even as a consultant, when you need to know the position of the organization you are working to, you can chat with this knowledge. So this is a very powerful application of large language model that we can envision also in the future. And finally, to talk about the role of official statistics in the world of AI, we think that artificial intelligence tool are data-driven tools. It's very important to know that behind all these artificial intelligence, we have data. And when we are going to use this artificial intelligence, if there are biases in the data, there will also be biases in the use of this AI. So the widespread use of artificial intelligence means more impact of if you have biases in the data. So it's very important that we make sure that the data that we are using are not biased, are not leaving someone behind. And this is the role of official statistics. So we are data steward and we are doing data quality assurance. So we see more role for official statistics here also to say that even in a world where we are going to use artificial intelligence, it does not mean that the traditional role of statistics is over. So I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you, Yusuf. So again, ES and colleagues, you can see the efforts we're also trying to do at the Africa Center for Statistics. Again, very much in emphasis because we are building capacity, also trying to bring in new skills because as you know, big data, the technologies that are coming now are really new. And that requires that we begin to relook at the kind of skills that we need to be able to do this. So it's a two-pronged approach, having to build the skills, but also how do we really support countries in these areas where all ourselves we are also learning. But I think we're making efforts in that direction. So I would like to encourage colleagues from SCS and also from the regional hub in Rwanda, for those questions that are being raised and you are able to respond in the interest of time, please do write the responses also in the chat. Now we're going to go to a final presentation, which is really practical. What we have talked about more was the process and things that we are planning to do, things that are going on. But now I want to hear a little bit more in terms of what is it that countries are doing, and we're going to be hearing from Ghana. So Ghana is going to highlight, first of all, the award-winning solution presented at the UN Datathon in 2023, led by the Ghana Statistical Service. And the focus there really was the local access to information in Ghana, localizing the SDG indicators, and computing the novel access to information. So you would notice that the Ghana team really secured the first prize, and we're very proud to be associated with that, and received the recognition in three categories. First of all, as the best youth team that presented this work, which is around the work that we do, best visualization, and also best presentation. So to do this, I'm going to ask Simon to take us through, who is basically, behind some of the work that we are talking about here. It's a dedicated data scientist, and this is one of the things I was talking about even for us at the Africa Center for Statistics, is really to hire people that are data scientists. A lot of passion that he has in leveraging data to drive informed decision making. He holds a master's degree in economics and currently employed by the Ghana Statistical Service, specializing much more on prices, surveys, and administrative data. In particular, extracting valuable insights, part of it which Yusuf was talking to this just a while ago. So let's hear a little bit more from him in terms of the detail of the strong work that they're doing there in Ghana. So Simon, please, if you could just upload your presentation and everyone could appreciate. So this is real work that is going on as part of the work we've been supporting through the UN Regional Hub and also working with data science in Rwanda.
Thank you very
Over
much,
to you.
Oliver.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you can hear me and see my screen.
We can hear you loudly and we can see your screen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Simon is my name, and I bring you greetings from Ghana, specifically Ghana Statistical Service. So we at here in Ghana Statistical Service contested in the just ended 2023 UN Datathon, and we were placed first in the event at the end of the day. So basically, this was our solution we presented. We made effort to localize access to information in Ghana, and then also trying to see how we compute an access to information index, so that once we're able to localize access to information, it is imperative that local community members are able to have access to this information. So this was the team. Lawrence Smith, who is currently the data science lead here at Ghana Statistical Service, myself. Then we had Femke Ahmed and then Peter, who are all data scientists here at Ghana Statistical Service. So I'll quickly jump onto the solution and then we'll be able to introduce that. So if you can see my screen, this is basically what we submitted. And at the end, Ghana Statistical Service data science team was able to emerge victorious as the first place team. My intent this morning basically is to situate the presentation of our solution in two contexts. And the first one is to say that let us situate whatever solution we presented in the context of big data, and then how we can leverage on non-traditional data sources to track the progress of sustainable development goals, which we intend to have achieved by 2030, and also making effort to track areas that are lacking in terms of the performance of SDG indicators. We intend to move from aggregate to disaggregate, and that has been the focus of Ghana Statistical Service. Instead of presenting indicators at a national level, we make effort to disaggregate these indicators even up to the district and locality levels. The good news is that Africa was the top winner at a just ended UN Datathon, and that is good news to say that yes, Africa is really doing great when it comes to the data space, but areas are still lacking, which we really need to pay a lot of attention to. So local access to information in Ghana, as I indicated, is the topic. So we stated a very clear problem, and the question we asked ourselves was that, do policymakers and opinion leaders have access to information at the local level in terms of how sustainable development goals are performing at the local level? That was the first question we asked. And then we even went ahead to indicate that even where or areas where this information is available, are they able to have access to the information? It is good. ECA, the regional data hub, our major aim basically is to make sure that we are able to provide information, and not just provided the information, that policymakers and opinion leaders are able to have access to this information to inform the kind of policy we want to see on the continent. So basically, the idea is that, okay, if information is available at a local level, are they able to access it? Then we are saying that we found just one answer, that yes, information is not readily available at a local level, and even where it is available, opinion leaders and policymakers find it very difficult in accessing this information. So we made a strong statement that if information is not accessible, it is just as well as not existing. And I was impressed to see what Yusuf presented regarding the AI, and then trying to make effort in ensuring that people are able to have access to data through the power of AI. So basically, we made the strong statement that yes, information is as well as not existing if it is not accessible. So we saying that based on these questions and the things we try to put across, we try to say that the problem concerning the lack of access to information is twofold. The first point is that local up-to-date information is scarce, and it is indeed scarce in the case of Ghana, where you are unable to track certain economic indicators even at the locality level, and the case that local policymakers have limited ability to access the available information. And that is the drive of the current Director General of Ghana Statistical Service, the government statistician. His focus is that policies in Ghana should be data-driven, such that you don't sit and make policies based on sentiment. It should be informed by data, and then each policy you intend to implement should be driven by data, and at the end of the day, there should be statistical target for whatever policy we intend to implement. So based on this, we try to provide three major solutions. So the first solution is that we intend to localize SDG indicators using both census and non-traditional data sources. I'll go into details of that. And then we made effort to compute a novel access to information index, such that once we are able to provide this local access to information at a local level, we need to ensure and track areas where access to information is really limited, so that with at district level, we're able to track districts that do not have good access to information using the index we have computed. And then we try as much as we can to make this interactive tool or to make an interactive tool that makes the AI adjustable and adaptable. And adjustable and adaptable means that other NSOs in Africa can adopt this particular solution, and then they can use that to monitor the progress of access to information so far as their context is concerned. All right, so we move on. The first thing we tried to do, as I indicated, was making effort to localize the SDG indicators. And by localizing SDG indicators, as I indicated earlier, the idea is to move from aggregate to disaggregate. Let us try to find out what is really happening at the lower levels, because there may be the case that information is readily available if you pick the national picture, but if you want to zoom down into the regional and the district level, do we have access to this information? And are this information readily available? So we try to use the census data, and permit me to say that those of us in West Africa, for the past few days, internet has not really been our good friend, because we have some disruptions in our connectivity, which is being fixed by the day. So just trying to say that I have an interactive story map, which I'm going to be using to demonstrate our solution. So we are saying that we localize the census data. Instead of presenting it at the national and regional levels, we try to go to the district level, so that at a snapshot, you are able to identify a list of indicators we computed from the census data using at a district level. So for example, if I'm interested in understanding what is really happening, so if you see to my extreme left, I have district. So whatever district I'm interested in, I'm able to have access to it. So once I check the box for the district, it gives me a snapshot of that particular district. And once I click on the district, it gives me a list of indicators that we use the census data to derive. So for example, the birth rate, the child labor, clean energy, electricity access, internet use, manufacturing, phone ownership, sanitation, and all that. So we were able to use the census data to say that instead of us reporting it at the national and regional levels, let us see how we can estimate indicators, so that at the local level, people can have access to these indicators. And these indicators, if you agree with me, fit largely into the SDG indicators. So that if we intend to achieve these indicators by 2030, the focus will not just be on the national picture, but we should also identify locality levels that are lacking, so that we are able to move it up from there. So that is basically what we did. And as I indicated, this is interactive. So depending on how many districts you want to work with, you're able to do so. And also the map is very interactive. So once I click on a particular district, as I indicated, it gives me information as to what is really happening in terms of SDG indicators at the locality level to help us track the progress. So we moved from using the census data to say that, okay, how do we complement these census and traditional data sources with big data, so that we will not only say, because data is not available timely, because for example, the census data, Ghana will conduct census every 10 years. I don't know for other NSOs in Africa. So basically what it means is that we'll have to wait for every 10 years if we want to rely on census to be able to monitor the progress of SDG indicators. And with what currently the regional hub is doing, moving from traditional data sources and leveraging on big data to be able to track the progress of SDG indicators, that was basically what we focused our solution on. We said that, okay, let us leverage on non-traditional data sources provided by a lot of resources, as I indicated, were provided by the Dataton team. They gave us access to a lot of platforms. They gave us access to a lot of tools that we're supposed to use. So leveraging on these platforms, we're able to use different data sources, big data, to be able to monitor what was really happening in terms of some basic indicators that matter so far as the sustainable development goals are concerned. The first indicator here we presented was school enrollment. And this is not from the census data. So basically what we did was to say that, okay, if you look at the national picture for Ghana, if you look at it in that perspective, Ghana is doing well. 87% of school-going age children are currently enrolled in school. That is the story. Beautiful. But what is happening as you begin to zoom and then go deeper to the regional and the locality levels? So if you go to the regional levels, some regions are doing as low as 51%. The national picture is good, 87%, but you have regions that are doing 51. So what it means is that if you even go deeper below the region level, you are going to have district doing less than the 51%. And then you can have some district doing as low as 40% in terms of school enrollment. So should the policy implementation be focused on the national level? And if you want to implement a policy that tackles school enrollment, which areas should be the focus? So with this particular solution, what you're able to do is to identify areas that are lacking, and then you channel effort to ensuring that these areas are able to come up to meet up the national picture, so that you don't duplicate effort in areas that are already doing well. You focus resources on areas that are lacking. So we moved ahead to say that, okay, let us pick another indicator. And basically what this indicator is doing is to give us non-traditional data sources such as your spatial information on school locations. So basically we use a big data source to plot the location of schools and distance to a school facility beyond a 10 kilometers. So basically all we did was to present this indicator and say that, okay, there are some locality levels, some districts that have access to a school facility beyond 10 kilometers. And imagine you are having a child who is 6 years school going age and will have to commute about a 10-kilometer to a school. What is really happening? So we said, okay, let us focus mainly on areas that have a lot of distance in terms of the number of kilometers children will have to commute to school. And then we say that, okay, this is what is really happening. So if we intend to tackle issues of enrollment, then we may also as well want to focus more on availability of school facilities in terms of. So we said, okay, let us see how traditional data sources complement with big data and non-traditional data sources. So we use the Nightlight data source, and this Nightlight data source help us provide information. So this is like a satellite imagery data that captures the country at night. So you're able to see which aspect of the country lights are on at night. So if you look at to my extreme left, we basically have information using the Nightlight data. And basically what we did was to say that, okay, using the Nightlight data, which is big data, this is the picture. So if you want to look at access to electricity in Ghana, using Nightlight data, which is a big data source, we are able to do that. But if you want to wait for census, then it means we have to wait every 10 years to have access to the same information. And if you look at what I've presented now, which is using the census data, you realize that it replicates exactly what the Nightlight data was showing. Areas where we have light at night using the Nightlight data are the same areas we have light in terms of the census data. So basically we are saying that we should not only focus on traditional data sources, let us move beyond traditional data sources, such as the census, and focus more on big data and other non-traditional data sources, which can help us measure these indicators timely. Okay, so we move on to say that, okay, what is the level of digital connectivity? Because we said if information can be accessed, then the country should be digitally connected. Of course, you cannot access the information if you don't have access to internet. So again, we leverage on Anokla data, which really is also a non-traditional and a big data source, which help us measure internet speed. So basically, we are able to map the country in terms of the speed of internet across all districts. So once you are able to, so if I click on a particular district, it gives me the download speed, it gives me the median download speed, the mean download speed in kilobyte per second in that order. So basically, this is what we are talking about, that you are not only focusing on traditional data source, but if you leverage also on big data, you're able to measure areas in the country, in the region where connectivity is limited. And if there's anything you need to do to improve, these are areas you want to focus on. So we move on to the second aspect of our solution, where we say that, okay, let us do a computation of the access to information index, because we've been able to say that, okay, information access is limited, and where it is limited, policymakers are unable to access it. So how are we going to track areas that are lacking in terms of access to information? So we use key indicators, 4 main indicators. One of them was education. And this has to do with the share of population within 10 kilometers to school, and then school enrollment rate 3 to 14 years of age. And then we also focus on energy access, the share of population with access to energy. If you have access to internet and you do not have access to electricity, access to information is going to be difficult. So this was the entire conceptualization around trying to impute these indicators and making them inform the kind of index you can compute at the locality level in terms of access to information. And one major critical one was digital connectivity. The locality areas digitally connected, the share of population that owns a laptop. So we're able to get this from the census data. And then the share of population that owns a smartphone, because currently access to information will mean that you should either have a laptop, you have access to an internet cafe, or you own a smartphone. And then the share of population that use census. So the first 3 indicators we use this information from the census data. Then we complemented it with information from a big data source, which has to do with internet speed from Ookla and then MLab data sources. So we're able to use these various data source combination to compute access to information. And then we use an additional deflector. The fact that we additionally deflect the index by the share of population that is illiterate in English. And we realize that in most, if you go to most NSO's website, for example, Ghana is an example, our data is presented in English. So what happens to people who are unable to read in English? So we try to say that, okay, let us deflect these particular indicators for people who are literate, but just that they are illiterate in English, but they are literate in other languages. And then once we're able to identify this, it helps us target the user more. Instead of us being a producer-centered, we focus more on being a user-centered, where we have the user of our information at hand. So this accounts for the fact that all information on SDG progress in Ghana is only published in English. And that is very true. So even people with access to information cannot understand it. So people may have smartphones, they may be able to browse the internet, but they get to the site and they are not able to understand what kind of information is available. So we need to think about moving from areas where we publish information only in English, which is an official language, to making the user understand these solutions or these data sets we have on our website. They should be able to understand it in local languages, provided they are literate in that. So we move ahead to do the computation of the index. So we plotted each of the indicators that were used in the index at the locality level again. So basically all we did was to move beyond the national and region and go deeper to the district levels. And for each of the indicators, we're able to track the disparity that exists in terms of these indicators. And once these indicators are going to fit in the computation of the access to information index, we expect at the end of the day, there should be large disparities in terms of the index across the various locality areas. So basically, this was all we did for all the 4 indicators. We tried to map it to see how these indicators are different in terms of the various locality level. So before we went ahead to compute the indicators, we tried to do a simple correlation between the indicators we are using and SDG performance. So we said that, okay, if you pick an SDG indicator, how does the indicator correlate with the index that is going to feed into the access to information index? So basically, we are realizing that with this particular solution as it is being presented, areas that SDG indicators are underperforming are the same areas where we have low access to these indicators. So for example, if you pick an electricity score, then areas where electricity score is low are similar areas where you realize that SDG indicators in terms of maybe access to electricity is also low. So we are saying that, okay, with this particular one, we are able to say that, okay, these indicators directly correlate with SDG indicators. So we move ahead to compute the access to information index. So in the computation for every district or every locality level in Ghana, we are able to display their level of access to information. And this has been ranked to my extreme right. So if you check on my extreme right, you're able to have access to the ranking of access to information in Ghana. And basically what we are doing is to say that, okay, since indicators may mean differently to different locality levels, different African countries, different areas of the world, then there's a need to make this indicator adjustable. So if I come here, the first indicator I have is score of population within 10 kilometers to school. So if I'm saying that the score of kilometer or the score of population within a 10-kilometer to school is low, I can adjust it. And once I adjust it, it re-rank the access to information. So basically that is what is happening, as we can see on the screen. So if my interest is more on the score of population within 5 kilometers or the school enrollment rate. So if I'm a district that has a very high school enrollment rate, then I may want to adjust my indicator to a very high school enrollment rate. And as you do that, the ranking of the index is displayed. So we are able to track how these indicators mean differently to different locality levels, to different countries, such that at the end of the day, we are able to monitor the level of access to information of each locality level in Ghana. So basically, this is what we were able to do. And as I adjust the indicators, we realize that the ranking of the district in terms of access to information index is different. So in conclusion, we try to provide a solution which is not only focusing on the national picture, but we try to provide a solution that says that let us move to locality level such that we're able to target areas that are lacking. So we've also displayed how we can compute access to information index and make this information adjustable such that depending on the interest of the locality level of the country, you're able to adjust this indicator to see how access to information index behave in your locality or your country level. So we are saying that, moreover, we utilize the geospatial data of OpenStreetMap, night slides data, and internet speed test, which is from Ookla and MLab, to enable timely and cost-effectively localized monitoring of the key transitions on education, energy access, and all that. So secondly, we've created the Access to Information Index, a new index that will support local monitoring in a novel way. This will aid in driving local action to improve access to information. So once you know which locality levels are lacking in terms of access to information, we channel effort to these locality areas instead of focusing more on the national picture. So basically, this is the team. And as I indicated, and these were the various data sources we used. As I said, we used the 2021 population and housing census data for Ghana. That is the first digital census that was conducted in Ghana in 2021. And then also leverage a lot on an open data portal Ghana Statistical Service has developed. And this data portal basically help us house all indicators that were covered during the census, and we also went ahead to include other macroeconomic indicators on that data portal. Sorry, it's a bit of noise at the background. It's raining heavily here in Accra. So yes, and then we also leverage on the OpenStreetMap data. And then with the OpenStreetMap data, that is where we were able to leverage on the GPS devices and the low-tech field maps. And then we use gridded data for electrification in Sub-Saharan Africa data portal. So we're also able to access a lot of data resources from there. And all these are non-traditional data sources, as I indicated, we can leverage on in our attempt to monitor the performance of SDG indicators on a timely manner, instead of waiting for a 10-year period to conduct a census in order to be able to monitor these indicators. So we also leverage on the measurement lab, the Ookla Open Space data set in that order. And these were the basic tools we use in developing our solution within the space of 69 hours. So the tools the UN Dataton provided, the Amazon Web Services, and that is what we are currently using to host our solutions. And then also had the Esri platform, and all the interactive maps you are seeing were made possible through the availability of that particular platform. And then most importantly, the coding and every analysis that was done mostly in R. And then we use the Shiny app to make the AI tool interactive. We also leverage on Excel. And if you saw the beautiful pictures we displayed, these were pictures that we developed using the Midjourney V5. This is an AI used in generating images that we use in the creating of the story map. And then C++ routine engine for shortest path in road network for computing the duration of the fastest route between pairs of coordinates. And this was a resource we leverage on to be able to determine the distance to school facilities. So basically, this was a solution we presented at the UN Datathon, for which we were placed first in the world, and most importantly in Africa. So we want to use this opportunity to appreciate the host country, that was Rwanda. We thank the National Institute of National Statistical Institute of Rwanda, their Director General, and our sister who made the first presentation. She was our host. And I remember on the final day of submitting our solution, she was looking for us everywhere. She couldn't find us, and we had to make sure that we beat the time. So we are really grateful for the opportunity that UN has provided to be able to showcase the skill that a data science unit here in Ghana possesses. So as I indicated earlier, the fact that Africa has been the top continent to win the UN Datathon signifies that, yes, in Africa, we are really doing a lot in the data space, and then we need to make sure that we are able to collaborate effectively within other NSOs to ensure that we are able to leverage these knowledges so that at the end of the day, we are all at the same level. We don't intend to leave. So what is the way forward? The way forward basically is to ensure that we are able to scale up these solutions. And as I indicated in the last aspect of the solution, where other countries can adapt this particular solution to be able to indicate what is really happening in terms of their locality level. So other countries can contextualize the solution for their specific areas, and also to ensure that we are able to get in touch with our colleague data scientists in other NSOs within the sub-region, so that at the end of the day, we know that this is the direction Africa is moving in terms of the data space. So I want to pause here for any reaction. Thank you very much, and over to you, Oliver.
Thank you so much, Simon. I mean, we could not even want to think about stopping you to finalize the presentation. This has been excellent. I think what is very clear, as you said in your last remarks, is scaling it. I think we have demonstrated there are solutions. This solution is working, and I think countries can actually emulate from the solution that's been developed, and it's got an award not just for Ghana or for the continent, at a global level. And that shows the importance of the UN Global Hub that's been set, that there are areas that we can actually showcase in innovating and also coming up with our own solution, homegrown solutions. And Ghana is one of those cases that has been able to do that. So really, congrats to Ghana, and I think we will continue to support that. Well, for Simon, one of the things we are looking at is to see how we can make this presentation at other forums to sort of stimulate interest and really in the work that you have done. And perhaps maybe this is something we can do at the Africa Regional Forum on Sustainable Development, which is coming up in April. I'll reach out to Professor Nim to see how possible that would be, and yourself, of course, and also the team that's organizing the forum itself, if they can accommodate this, because this is innovative. This is a change maker. It's a policy. Has policy impacts. It's not just something that you talk about. It has policy impacts, and you drew down to SDGs to the local level. And I think it's the first time that we are making these kinds of strides in improving the data and use of artificial intelligence and big data itself. So usually we would be stopping around now. We run these sessions for about an hour and a half. But because of the issues that have come up here, if you would allow me, and I'm going to ask our technical team that please don't shut us down. We would like to spend perhaps another 15 to 20 minutes to sort of hear a little bit and also maybe interact with the executive secretary and those that are here. Comments, suggestions, questions. There are a lot of questions that are in the chat, I will not attempt to go through them, but perhaps maybe allow one or two people to raise the issues, and I'll probably maybe start with the executive secretary if he's still connected. Yes, Kadeta, please.
Thank the presenters. This is extremely useful. And maybe I would want to request them to put on their, at least their video so that we can see who they are, for the interest of others who do not know them.
Yeah.
And then I just have one question. What you are presenting here is very, very important. I wonder how many of the policymakers understand what you do, because this is a presentation among the statisticians. But at the end of the day, the people who benefit most is not the statistician, but also the policymakers in the different ministries, in the different sectors of the society, the local government, the ministries of finance and economic planning, those who are in charge of the industry, those who are in charge, they are all tracking different areas. How do you make this information known to them? Because what has been presented here is something that's needed by everyone. I just wanted to know how this information is shared, or how do you make it known to the people who can use it for their different purposes. Thank you.
Thank you, yes. That's a very, very important question. That's a question I was asking others in the academia not too long ago about some of the research work that they do. How does it end up with the policymakers? And exactly the same question you're raising here, that perhaps we're talking to ourselves. But this is very novel. This is pretty new work that we've just started, and this is the reason I was saying that we need to find forums where we can actually present this work. And I'll probably be reaching out to our colleagues in the one that run the Africa Regional Forum for Sustainable Development to see if we can present, because they are their policymakers, they are their members of parliament. And perhaps maybe as we proceed and come up with new innovations, maybe some work we can scale up and present during the Conference of Ministers, which is more or less our board, for them to begin to do this. But in Ghana, I know that this is piece of work that they've already started talking about and disseminating to their own planners. But I'll leave Simon to sort of talk to this in terms of what they've been able to do at in Ghana in making use of this work. Simon, do you want to respond to that?
Thank you very much, Oliver. So much grateful for the opportunity, and to also indicate that we appreciate the decision to invite us make a presentation of our solution on other platforms where we have a lot of policymakers coming in to really have a feel of the kind of solution that has been developed. Yes, as I indicated in the presentation, here in Ghana, the NSO, that is the Ghana Statistical Service, is moving from being a producer-centered to a user-centered. So currently, even in our census data, we've tried as much as we can to make information available in brailles. And in brailles are means for people who are unable to see, so people who have difficulty in seeing can have access to our information. So basically at a policymaker level, this solution, we've made series of presentations with it. And I remember during the African Statistics Day, where a lot of policymakers were invited, this solution was made. And currently, Ghana Statistical Service hosted all directors of civil and public services in Ghana who are at the realms of affairs in terms of policy implementations in Ghana, and this solution was presented there. So basically, we are making a lot of effort to ensure that policymakers in Ghana have access to this solution, and by so doing, we invited the members of parliament to also have access to this information, so they are able to monitor how indicators in terms of sustainable development goals are behaving in their various constituencies and districts. Yeah, so if you ask, this is, or these are a couple of efforts we're putting in place to ensure that we are able to make the solution and any other product that is developed by the Ghana Statistical Service accessible to policymakers, so that our policies in the country will be data-driven and not based on sentiment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me just maybe have a follow-up question for Ghana, because here you indicated really very useful data, and you showed the districts which are lagging behind. And usually this information, the local government is highly interested, because as they plan their budgets, then they can show where money should be allocated in line with the deficit that is being shown. Secondly, we have the different committees in Parliament. Whenever they are going to assess the budget that has been presented to the Parliament, they need information, they need a basis. I wonder whether you have specialized, not just grouping everyone together, but specialized small groups to explain the data so that it can help them in terms of taking decisions which are appropriate, which are informed.
Thank you very much, Director General. And this is very exciting to hear that in Ghana, we like I indicated, we are so much user-centered now. We have a collaboration with the committee in Parliament, and currently every parliamentarian in Ghana have a research assistant. So basically, instead of going to make statement on the floor of Parliament based on sentiment, we have trained the research assistant of each of the member of Parliament, who to a very large extent will be responsible for providing information to the member of Parliament before hitting the floor. We've trained them on how to use our data portal. As I indicated, we have developed a stat bank, and if you go to our website, Ghana Statistical Service website, you'll be able to have access to our statistics bank. As I indicated, this is an open data portal that houses a lot of census indicators. So what we did was to train them on how to extract information from the stat bank. We've even proceeded to engage the media, because we know the role that media is playing when it comes to disseminating information across the country. So basically, we've engaged the media on how to use this particular data portal. How are they able to even interpret statistics? So basically, currently in Ghana, what we do, before we do any release, in terms of the statistical product, we engage the media first to walk them through the solutions that we have developed and to help them understand it better so they can really explain to the public. So for Parliament, yes, we are not focusing on the bigger group. There is a committee that really focuses or that has a lot of interest in data. And after meeting with that particular committee, we also leverage on their research assistant, which provide them with information, and we've trained them on how to use the various data portals we have here in Ghana. So that is the strategy we are currently adopting to make sure that our solutions and data sets are readily available and inform policy here in the country.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Oliver.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, maybe just for your information, one of the things that we've just initiated is still brand new and we're just moving from an envelope is the twinning of the national statistical offices. We think that part of really building the capacity for national statistical offices is to identify countries in the global north that are willing to work with countries in the global south to build a capacity in transfer of skills and also knowledge. And we've started with a few countries that we're hoping that we'll be able to scale up that at very minimal cost, in the sense that a lot of it it will be based on agreed work or agreed mentorship, maybe agreed workshops as well, and perhaps maybe where it is possible is for countries to spend a little bit of money to visit each other and be able to scale up. Because in the absence of that, what we're having at the moment, as we've already heard from the challenges, is the infrastructure at our national statistical offices. The internet, access to internet connectivity is a big challenge for a number of our countries. So we can only do so much, but what is important, I think, is to register the progress and pace of achievement in those areas where we are able to break through. I don't know if there's any one that has a burning question. I know that we've gone past the hour that we normally use for this, but if there's anyone, I do register the number of questions that are already in the chat and the responses. This particular webinar is also recorded, so you should be able to access it later, and also the presentation will be shared to everyone. So if there's anyone, please could just raise your hand.
So maybe before they come in, I just wanted to ask the National Institute of Statistics in Rwanda, being a regional hub for Africa, I just wanted to understand their obligation to other countries on the African continent.
I don't know if
thank you very much. Thank you very much. Actually, this is very important, and this is a partnership. It's a joint responsibility of the National Statistics Office in Rwanda, of UNECA, and UNDESA. We have a joint responsibility to push the agenda of modernizing official statistics in Africa. And we are looking at three things. in a practical sense. One is we want to be a center for proving concepts. There are a lot of concepts that are moving around globally that we need to prove in the context of our countries in Africa. So at the hub here, we are very positive about any ideas like the ideas that have been presented in terms of looking at the ideas, making sure they actually work, test them, and if they work, we see how other countries can adopt them, especially countries in Africa. Then two is exploring new data sources. There are a lot of new data sources that African countries at the moment are not using. For example, geospatial technologies, for example, social media data, financial transaction data, and so on and so forth. So here we also are trying to inform other African countries of the possibilities in terms of new data sources. Then third is new technologies. Of course, new methods, new data sources. We need new technologies to be able to deal with all of these requirements of producing statistics using new data sources. And for us to be able to do that, at the hub, we want to be building capacity. After we've identified the data sources, the technologies, and the concepts have been proven, then capacity building comes in place. At the hub in Rwanda, we have a lot of space. Actually, one of the things that we offer the regional hub is free space. We have a lot of training centers, training rooms. We have good internet. We have a very good facility. We're actually offering office space for some staff from UNECA to come and work here at the regional hub, and also willing to host other countries that want to learn from what has been prepared here at the National Institute of Statistics in Rwanda. And finally, after proving concepts and after building capacity, it's very important that when countries go back to implement, that they get support. So we also are trying to put in place mechanisms of doing support. Some of that support can be remote, but also some of those support experts can come from UNECA. They can come from the regional hub in Rwanda and go and visit those countries and see how they are implementing the programs. So it's threefold. It's proving concepts, it's capacity building, it's also support. But Executive Secretary, to be able to move forward in this direction, there is one constraint that we have to overcome, as has been said by many people on this forum. African countries are struggling with two things. We are struggling with capacity in the countries, but we're also struggling, and capacity here, I'm talking about infrastructure. And we're also struggling with resources to implement these programs to make sure that we build capacity in a sustainable manner. And this is an area that we need to jointly work on together to see that we can mobilize resources for the hub, for the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, Africa Center of Statistics, but also work with other partners, for example, the African Development Bank, the World Bank, and other institutions to support countries in terms of resourcing these efforts to use the hub, but also to modernize their official statistics. So in brief, this is what we are offering at the hub. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me ask another question to the UNECA this time. Because here we work directly, we're supposed to be working directly with African Union Commission. And also we work with the ministers, and you have two forums. There's a direct link between the African Union Commission, but there is also the Conference of Ministers of Finance. How do we inform them of really, especially the access to the information? Because we just finished the Conference of Ministers in Victoria Falls, and we discussed all the other issues, but we never touched on this kind of access to the information that you are presenting. So we wanted to know exactly how you are engaging the African Union Commission, but also the ministers of finance, central bank and governors and the rest of it. But also, I want you to advise us. If you wanted to raise money, because that's part of our job, where should we put the money in terms of supporting this activity?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Yes. We first of all, when we set up this regional hub in 2020, we only began to really operationalize it after COVID, which was around 2021, 2020. And we wanted to stabilize in terms of our own objective, understanding what we needed to do. So more recently, last year, we actually decided we're going to invite the African Union into the committee. We do have a committee, which I co-chair with Yusuf. We decided we're going to invite them to be part of that committee so they can begin to understand the work we do. And I'm hoping that they'll participate as desired. The issue on how do we get this information to be with the African Union, yes, I think this is partly of an issue that needs to be resolved at the higher level in terms of how we actually have joint activities for conference, for ministers of finance, for instance, the ones that we report to ourselves and the ones that are under the STC for the African Union. At the moment, we don't have that, and I think this integration of that was happened in 2016 when there was a separation. Perhaps that's a policy issue that needs to be discussed, maybe not necessary for this forum. I think once that is done, I think then we'll have an avenue where we can be able to present some of these things that we are doing on the forum. The only thing we do at the moment is to report in the UN-AU framework in terms of the work we do, but really not having an opportunity to present to the ministers and the African Union policy board, so to speak. In terms of resources and where to place them, two areas, yes. One is to improve or to put in resources on the human part, the human capacity, the people that we need, the data technologies, the kind of skills that we need. Right now, if we look maybe at the Africa Center for Statistics and many of our statistical offices, we have statisticians. What we need are more than just statisticians. We need beyond the statistician. We need different kind of skills that are able to access and understand the new world now of artificial intelligence, the technology that is there. So we need to put change perhaps in the job descriptions, and secondly, the resources by hiring additional staff. That is one. The second part is really to work with the National Statistical Office, in particular the governments, to put more resources in infrastructure. The infrastructure, if we were to ask Simon what they've been able to do in Ghana, is a lot more to be able to do that. Even the kind of skills they've had in Ghana, if you look at other national statistical offices, they will not be able to do that. So it's to influence the legislation, the statistical legislation and government policy to invest a little bit more on the infrastructure and also on the skills required to be able to do this. So I think that is where we need to do that. And then, of course, identifying the private sector who have resources, in this case, ISRI and other agencies, Google, Facebook, and so forth, that have resources around artificial intelligence and also big data. How do we work with them? And I think the MOU that you signed recently with Google is another good entry point for us to see how we can tap those resources. So these are efforts that we are making very slowly, but I think with time, once we're able to influence the government, and I think also the initiative of setting up a division in EC on technology, perhaps that will be another one that will influence the legislation and policy work, regulations at country level to begin to think differently on these issues. Yeah, thank you. If I may allow, yes, there are three people that ask questions. The first one is Abu. And we have another one, Simon himself, and then we'll have the Director General from Rwanda to also ask, and then maybe we can try and wrap up at that stage. Please, can you all put your cameras? And I think people are taking pictures for this purpose.
Oliver,
so, yeah, Abu.
Oliver, sorry, if I may,
okay.
I'm not asking. I want to compliment you. There is a very important question that the Executive Secretary asked. If we get resources or if we mobilize resources, where should those resources be placed? I think in addition to what you have said, there are two important issues that should happen as we mobilize resources. First of all, we should mobilize resources for the hub. This is extremely important because the hub has a number of activities that it needs to do. It needs to support all African countries to modernize in terms of big data. So we need to mobilize resources for the hub. And these resources should be jointly managed by the Africa Center of Statistics and Rwanda, because the hub is physically placed in Rwanda. So that is very important. But two, for these programs to be sustainable and implementable, we need from the proposition of the executive secretary, we need African countries to also mobilize resources for their respective statistics offices to implement these very important projects. And this can be achieved with support from development partners, especially those that are friendly to Africa statistics. For example, the African Development Bank, for example, the World Bank, for example, other international institutions that can mobilize resources for modernizing official statistics, but these resources should be implemented in the respective countries where these projects are supposed to be implemented. So we need it to be a double-faced. We need the hub to have resources, but we also want countries to have resources to implement these programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yusuf, for that compliment.
So Oliver, can I just mention something?
Yes.
Can you coordinate? Because number one, we need to support the hub, but also we need to support the hub to support all the other African centers of statistics. And I need something maybe written down. And really, it's like a small budget of what is required in order to support the other African countries, so that it's very, very clear that you have a hub which needs to function, but at the same time, they have to give support to all the other statistical agencies on the African continent. And maybe something that would have to be indicative, and that would help me in terms of looking at the costs and where I can get the money. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, I think we do have something. We will put up together something very quickly, because we have some rough estimates already. So really appreciating that that offer. We'll come back to you very, very quickly on this. So I think everyone on the screen is probably smiling that this is work that is getting a lot of support from the top. Abu, can you please quickly? You've been on the raise your hand quite a while ago. Could you please come in?
Okay. Good morning. My name is Omar CF Kebe, Gambia Bureau of Statistics. I have 3 questions. The first one is for you, Mr. Oliver. The global hubs, I've seen one for Middle East and North Africa, and also there's one in Kigali for Africa. My question is on that. Why Middle East and North Africa, and then you have one for Africa? Isn't North Africa part of Africa? The second question goes to Mr. Simon. Thank you for your presentation, Edison. I was in Accra back in 2021, 2022. Some of the non-traditional method you've used, like for the night part, and for the case of Gambia, I know, and when I was in Accra, there's a time they use dumso. That is, maybe there is no electricity or things of that. So I want to know what time span were you using to get the night, that night data, and also the light speed, the internet in the Gambia, because that was an ACE project that meant to make internet good in Africa. We have 3G announcement, 4G, 5G. They are just on paper, but they are not in reality. So those 2 indicators, how are we able to get accurate data on those one, the night imagery and also the internet connectivity you mentioned. Thank you all.
Thank you. I think those were 2 questions so far. The third, or Teresa, did you want to ask or you wanted to respond?
Actually, I'm using the same.
It's yours. Okay. So there are 2 questions. I think for now, maybe we'll be winding up. Let me answer to the question that was raised about the regional hubs. So the ECA, UN ECA, for us, we are looking at the entire continent. And here, when I talk about the entire continent, I'm talking about including northern part of this of the continent, the Maghreb countries, if you like. They are part of the support that we provide. Part of the countries that will receive support from us. But of course, in some classification, they also have access to the Middle East, and that we have no control. That's the own arrangement. But in terms of the work, they get support from us. And so forth, which we don't have a problem with that. It works very well for us. We are supporting all the 54 UN member countries. So it is not meant only for sub-Saharan Africa, but the entire continent, including the Maghreb countries, which is Egypt up to Mauritania. They are all those they benefit from this particular activity. But also they can have access to the Middle East one, which is in Abu Dhabi. Yeah. There's a question about the nightlight, Simon. Simon, you want to respond to the second part of the question from Abu?
Okay, thank you very much, Oliver. If you can hear me,
yes, please.
I think okay. So as I indicated, the internet has not been our friend for the past few days, and we're really struggling to stay connected in the western part of Africa. Thank you so much, Abu. Yes. So as I indicated, we wanted to move away from focusing more on the traditional data sources. Using data source, you're able to sensors, you're able to measure how many households are connected to the national grid, and at the locality level, you're able to estimate that. That is fine. But what we did with the nightlight data, this is an open data source. It is not the data that is gathered by Ghana Statistical Service, and as we intend to leverage on big data, it was a data source we focused on from, it was one of the data sources provided by the UN Data Ton team. So basically all we did was to leverage on that data source and then try to replicate it for the case of Ghana. So basically all we did was to extract the part for Ghana. That is together with the internet connectivity data. So we use the MLab data source to be able to measure internet speed, and then the OCLA. So these are open data sources you can just leverage on. And I'm sure if you want to do it for Rwanda, Uganda, you can have access to it for Uganda. So for every country, and as I indicated, these are basic, they are more like a snapshot of the country at night when the lights are on. And we also want to acknowledge the fact that yes, internet energy connectivity has been a challenge across the sub-region, and in the past years, Ghana, we suffered a lot of doomsaw, where we have our lights going off and coming on in time. So basically, this data source, yes, I'm trying to make a point that yes, it's an open data source you can have access to for all countries in the world, and you can use it to contextualize for your case. So to my substantive issue, Oliver, I think we did mention the director for the National Statistical Institute for Rwanda did indicate the issue of incorporating geospatial issues in our NSOs. So here in Ghana, basically what our government statistician, that is the director of statistics here in Ghana, has done when he picked up the role as the Director General of Statistics in Africa, in Ghana, basically what he tried to do is to say that he wanted to implement an agenda we call the CAN agenda, the CAN. And then the C means that we wanted to change the way things were done. And then the A means that we wanted to automate our processes. And then the N simply means novelty. We're trying to make effort in bringing on board new things. And as part of this CAN agenda, he instituted two major roadmaps. One of the roadmap was a data science roadmap. And currently we have a data science unit, which is just about 1.5 years old. And I want to passionately make an appeal to ECA, regional hub, whoever can support the data science unit. Yes, we need a lot of support in terms of resources. We need a lot of support in terms of capacity to be able to do the kind of work we do. We are currently making a lot of effort to ensure that we are able to automate a lot of processes here in Ghana. And then the second roadmap he focused largely on was the geospatial roadmap. And he is making an indication that if an NSO doesn't focus on these two roadmap, we may end up losing it. So we need to really ensure how do we incorporate the works of data science in our operations as NSOs, and then how do we implement a geospatial roadmap such that we are able to really focus more on the disaggregate, go to a very lower level to be able to understand the stories instead of just focusing on the national picture. On the issue of mobilizing resources, it has really been a challenge for Ghana. And I can say we rely mostly on the support of development partners. So most of the capacity the data science unit may have received in the past, or other units of the service may have received in the past, are support we are really receiving from the development partners. They come in to support us in terms of some of the capacity needs we have. So we are really passionately appealing. ECA, you need to really come to the support of the data science unit in Ghana, and we ensure that to be. So we are grateful, yeah.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Simon. Thank you so much, colleagues that are connected, the executive secretary. We need to bring this to a close. I know there's so much that needs to be said, but we've gone over the hour by 30 minutes, and we want to be disciplined in terms of how we manage our time. Otherwise, people will not come to our next, which is coming up in the next couple of weeks. The next session. So, but I want to thank first of all the executive secretary really for spending our time, his time here. When I was telling my colleagues, I didn't expect that ES would be here for this long, but you can see the interest that he has in data. He did say in his statement earlier on that he's going to be spending more time with us. ES, we have an interesting session that is coming up next month. Because we have this every month, again, on issues of innovation, because we think that, if Africa has to change, it's transforming and modernizing our statistical system that will make a difference. And I think the small little steps we are making would help us really achieve the bigger picture in the end. And this is why we engage everyone from the academia, from the national statistical offices, and all over, depending on the issue that's being discussed. As you noticed from here, yes, that we have people beyond just the continent that have also joined us in this particular session. I think earlier on, we were almost getting to 200 points of connection, but we know that behind those connections, there's more than one person in some cases that are attending. There are probably maybe about 300 or so in total that have attended this session. So really want to thank you, yes, for this. And thank you, the Director General for the National Statistics of Rwanda, for really being here. Colleagues that have presented from Ghana. Regards to Professor Anim, really for this. We'll be reaching out to see how you can participate in the other forums. The ES has requested, how do we get this information related to the policymakers who need it so badly? And secondly, to also request the countries that are here, how can we help you to scale up, picking up on the work that we've done in Ghana. And by the way, there are other pieces of work we don't just have time to share. There are other pieces of work we've done in various areas which we could also share here, with scrappings, ICP, and things like that. But this was just one of the areas we wanted to showcase today. And how do we scale up all these pieces of work and so forth? That becomes very critical. So thank you very much, Ghana. Thank you very much, Rwanda, colleagues from ECA, the Executive Secretary, and on his behalf, really, for being with us. We've done 2 hours and a couple of minutes today, but I think it just shows the interest that we have in the area of statistics. So, shukran, and have a great day wherever you are. And merci beaucoup in English, in French rather. I cannot say in the other language, but that's all I could say. Zita asante sana for those that come from East Africa. All the very best, and thank you again, yes.
Oliver, just to remind everyone to please respond to the evaluation form, as we are capturing even your concerns on the possibility of including your country in addressing the concerns. So please respond to the evaluation form, as this is vital for us to continue this work on StatsTalk-Africa. Thank you very much. Thank you, Oliver.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Oliver. We're grateful. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver. Very good work. Thank you. Thank you, Executive Secretary.
It was good to see Dora. It's good to see Dora here.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. It was a great presentation. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
And others. That's good. Thank you for coming in.